The next clip we're going to see is your first day in Pyongyang, which, well, we'll play the clip and talk about it in a second. It's terrifying.
It was quite alarming, that.
Did it wake you up?
I don't know if it woke me up, because it wasn't noisy. It wasn't a brash noise or anything like that. I was just aware that in my dream there was this strange vibrating music going, and it was part of me. And when I woke up, it was still there. When I looked out of the window, it was still there. And I couldn't. What was really odd was I couldn't pin down where it was coming from. I couldn't pin down a speaker here, a speaker there. It was like, as I say in the commentary, it was like a suffusion of sound. It's like the whole city was sort of gently vibrating with this sound, and I didn't know what it was. It didn't sound like what it later turned out to be, a very sort of patriotic song. As I say, it was much more like Brian Eno playing around with some new compositions and all that. But it was very, very strange at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was part of my dream, and you know, most of that day was a bit like a dream. That sort of started it, because Pyongyang is sort of very similar in some ways to to our own cities. You've got tall buildings, you've got wide streets, and yet there's very little sound coming from the city. As I say there, none of the sounds of the city we're used to, which is noise and rush and sirens and all that. It was just this quiet city with this music sort of gently vibrating around. It was very weird. And I was on my own, and I was probably a bit jet lagged still from flying out to China. But I said by 9 o'clock when the sun came out, I sort of could deal with it better.
Did you ever find out why they do it, why they play it? Did you ask the guides at all?
Well, I think they play it just to encourage the people to get to work or whatever, or just start the day with, it's called Dear General, Where Are You, Dear General? And everything is to do with the Kim family, the ancestors, the feeling that they are with you all the time. They're almost, you're viscerally part of you. And that's what I think this music was right from the start. We own you, and this is the music that's happening and all that. That's what I think it was.
Yeah.
And every hour, then it would stop about 5:30, and you go to sleep for a bit, and then it would start again at 6 o'clock. And then there would be another one at 7 o'clock, another one at 8 o'clock. And it was just getting people in the mood for another day in this extraordinary state.
It's like a big giant snooze button for the entire city.
Yeah.
What, you cover a lot of ground in the series, 1,300 miles, I think you kind of covered around the country, and you get outside the city. Was it just in the city that we did that, or did that kind of happen out in the...
Well, outside the city, you saw different manifestations of the same idea, which was encouraging people to get to work and do the work. And in one city, went to Wonsan, which is across the other side from Pyongyang on the east coast. They just had ladies in the morning with kind of red flags, and they do a red flag, and they do a little sort of dance routine to the music that was laid out there to encourage people on their way to work. And these were sort of, I would say, ladies in their 40s and 50s, probably doing a bit of shopkeeping during the day, but they start off the day by doing a little dance, very seriously doing all the flag waving and the music plays. Music is very, very important in North Korea. I mean, the North Koreans are like Koreans generally. They love music anyway. But music is very, very important. It's playing somewhere in the country all the time, somehow.
Wow. It's interesting as well, because the next clip we're going to see, you visit a school. Which is incredibly interesting, because you'll see in the clip you start off with all the boys kind of trying to say their bit and talk to you and stuff, and you're very keen to speak to the girls in the class as well, and this is an incredibly moving piece when you visit the school. It's not what I expected.
That was not the school.
It was not, we'll get to that in a second.
Still jolly interesting. Jolly interesting.
Yeah. They keep the children...
No one's left.
They keep the children well hidden.
Exactly.
We'll get to the school clip in a second. But that's not what I envisaged the skyline to look like. And that's a really incredible shot that's never been done before as well, in terms of that view of the city.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, the Juche Tower is an interesting thing. It was built, I think, in sort of 1972 or something like that. And the number of, again, it's absolutely sort of concentrating on the great leaders and the beings of the great leaders. I think the number of blocks that were made to build the tower are something like the number of days that one of the supreme leaders lived on Earth, you know. Or lived. I mean, he's not died. Actually.
No, he's still there.
He's still there. But I mean, things like that are very, very important. And everything relates back to the leadership. But it was, I mean, that was rather interesting because we managed to get some drone shots. And that is the drone shot of the tower. And I think we'd asked actually if you could take a drone in, and there was a lot of toing and froing, and they said, no, you can't, absolutely not. You know, only the Americans do that. But but then we asked them, and they said, yes, well, if we can operate the drone, then and make it a North Korean drone, then you can use it. So this is, again, typical of the negotiations that had to go on while we were there. Yeah. And in the end, we got some wonderful drone shots, but it was quite difficult because the North Korean drone operator didn't really quite know what we wanted to get or what it was all about that we were doing anyway. So there was a little bit of friction there, but we did manage to get some spectacular drone shots in the end.
And that was a constant thing where it was a to and fro with regards to, you know, compromise, I guess, in terms of...
Yeah, I mean, we had, and we don't disguise it because there's no point in doing that. We had, I think, well, the two guides who were on camera with me talking about, showing me around, and there were about 5 or 6 minders, 5 men and a woman, who were there from the tourist ministry. They're all in their suits. They were very nattily dressed in North Korea, very nice dark suits. And they would sort of be there. It was quite awkward actually for me because I was doing pieces to camera, and they'd all be ranged around behind the camera, and at the end they'd just go, and they call Neil, the director, out. They never talked to me directly.
Really?
They were very nice. They were very nice to me. I mean, part of the fact was I was at 75. Well, I was actually 74 when I went there. I was 75 when I left. But I realised that old people are revered there, as they are in a lot of sort of East Asian societies. And So Young, who was my one of the guides, sort of took my arm, and I got out of the car every time, you know, and said, Are you very tired? Are you tired now? This was 9:15 in the morning, you know, we had 7 more hours to go before lunch even. But, they were sort of looked after me very well, but they would talk to Neil Ferguson, our director, and there was all sorts of little negotiations went on, and then they'd come back and say, yes, it's all right, you can do that. And generally we won a lot of the arguments, which was very nice. And we realised that you just can't go there and say, this is what we want, you've got to give it to us.
Yeah.
You've got to go with them, you've got to win their trust. It's absolutely vitally important. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to shoot anything at all. And the fact that we were able to shoot for, I think, 13 days we were there, every day, right across the country, I think was you know, a result of us talking to them and dealing with them and them dealing with us in a trusting way.